For the first time.
Rusty and Dusty edition of Danny. Yeah, first time.
Yeah.
Long time, first time.
Yes.
How you doing today?
Not too bad.
Well, thanks for partying with us. Danny is leering at young boys at the Nike Hoop Summit.
Yeah.
And he is.
He tried to yesterday.
Yeah, he did. He really did. He tried his damnedest. He is scouting. He is taking his notes, taking probably several videos. But he will put them all and make them all public of the Nike Hoop Summit. Team USA versus the world. Really cool event. But that allows us to Rusty and Dusty this son of a bee on a Wednesday afternoon.
Let's do it.
How are you?
Good. After an unexpected day off yesterday.
Yeah, a little unexpected day up. We weren't expecting Danny.
No.
So, okay, peek behind the curtain. It was supposed to be Rusty and Dusty yesterday.
Yep.
Danny misread the schedule, or they put out the wrong schedule to the media.
They screwed up.
Yeah. And so we had Ortner here, we had you, me, and then you were just like, well, what am I going to do?
It's like, all right,
So
I guess I'll go home now.
Go hang out. Go walk in that front door, take your pants off, and do the Jeff Russ thing.
Yeah, it was like the Forrest Gump after he's done. I'm kind of tired. I think I'll go home now.
Well, we are letting Russ cook today. All right,
Let's
are you ready to go?
Let's cook with heat.
I don't know if Portland's ready to let Russ cook because this is the first time with us. You've hosted with Danny before when I've been out.
Yeah.
But now it's you and I together. In no better day to do it than Wrestling Wednesday.
Right? Absolutely.
I saw in perfect circumstances here, 90s WWE put out name your top 5 wrestlers of all time.
Oof.
Do you have that list off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head.
This was way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to narrow that down.
Oh, wait. My top 5 go Macho Man number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate Warrior number 2.
We're so far in sync.
Hulk Hogan 3.
Yeah.
Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels number 4.
So that's where I might have to break off with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a sexy boy.
Yeah.
And so he was just a favorite of mine growing up.
Yeah.
There was just something about Shawn Michaels I really liked. Joining DX. It was I was a Shawn Michaels guy.
So then at this point you're going to have to leave out either or both of Stone Cold or The Rock.
Number 5. Now, The Rock wasn't even in my consideration for my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
The 5th spot for me, it came down to, I don't know, 5 other wrestlers.
Yeah, you still got Andre the Giant.
I had Stone Cold Steve Austin was under consideration. The Undertaker, Ric Flair. I had Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah.
I had, obviously, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Roddy Piper, as a heel. He was in there. I didn't know what to do with the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. Can I put the tag team? Yes, you do that so well. I mean, that was a really tough one.
Yeah.
But with my 5th and final spot, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
There we go.
When Stone Cold Steve Austin smacked 2 beers together and gave himself the beer shower,
yes,
I was hooked.
Absolutely.
And also, I've got to put in Jimmy Superfly Snuka in that conversation as well. Like, my list is really long. Like, if this was top 10, it would be hard to narrow down and be like, I just got 10.
Yeah, and Primo O on the YouTube chat pointing out we still haven't mentioned Ric Flair.
Well, I did.
Did you say Ric Flair?
Ric Flair was in.
Apologies.
He was in that under consideration
list,
but not under consideration for me. The Rock. He wasn't.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. You know who I would put.
It doesn't matter what you think.
That's right. Mankind would have been before I would have put The Rock in there.
Are we leaving out Dude Love then? Just the Mankind version?
Yeah, I'm going Mankind and that's it. You know, that's where. And look, in my list, this is the thing. And The Rock has turned heel. Maybe if The Rock turned heel a little bit sooner, almost everybody on my list had dabbled in between.
Well, he went
good
through
and
that
evil.
before. He made turns before back in the Dizzy, did he not?
Not to the extent that he's at now. And John Cena, not on my list because eras, right?
Yes.
This is an eras thing.
Right.
And of course, Dusty Rhodes would have been under consideration for my top 10 as well because, I mean, there's just very few Dustys out there.
Yes.
You know, it was growing up, it was like I got Dusty Rhodes,
Yeah.
Dusty Bottoms, Dusty Springfield. Not a very distinguished list of Dusties that are out there.
I think it's more like honorable mention, at least for fan favorites. You got your Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, I loved Hacksaw. I loved Hacksaw.
Just out there looking like every dad in a little onesie.
Mm-hmm. Problematic now. Big fan of Tatanka.
Yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
he was not around very long.
No.
Tatanka, but I love Tatanka. I also loved and look, Sergeant Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even in there. The Iron Sheik.
Iron
He should have
Sheik,
been on there for
right?
me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Way tougher.
Man, I just named a bunch of wrestlers right there. Like that was
dude stuff.
I didn't even know I had that in me. It just comes out of you when you start talking wrestling. It just happens.
You okay now? Did you black out?
I did. I did.
And we're back.
Man, we're already off ripping and roaring right now.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Oh man, Kane. What about Kane?
Kane,
Anybody
yeah.
like Kane?
You got your Triple
Undertaker's
H.
brother? No, not a Triple H.
No,
guy.
not a Triple
Never
H guy.
was.
No.
Never was a Triple H guy. Nope. Nope. Razor Ramon? Nope. Jake the Snake? Hell no.
Oh, whoa. Is it just because of the snake?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Never been a snake guy.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Never been a snake
I'm not
guy.
a snake guy either, but I love Jake the Snake.
You did.
Oh, yeah.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. All right. Wow. Where do we even go from here?
Right.
Where do we? Schultze's here. What's up, Schultze?
Happy Hump Day, guys.
Hey, happy Hump Day to you.
You certainly have more to talk about with all your wrestling names than I do as a diehard Mariners fan. So, hey, I'm willing to listen to us go down wrestling name black hole talk. It's
This
fine.
is the problem with being a Mariners fan, right? We've all had these moments, and like this is the hard part when you are a fan of a team. You know, I'll say this: I'm a Houston Astros fan. And I'm not proud to be a Houston Astros fan.
Really? I was going to say congratulations.
Nor should you be.
No. I like it really sucks. It does. But would I trade places with a Mariner fan? No.
I'm not sure I'd trade places with you either, buddy.
The tainted World
I
Series.
think that was basically just an ew.
Yeah, the tainted World Series. But and I'm not talking like there's so many lovable Mariners that I have over my lifetime. The likable roster they have right now.
Mhm.
They got some good dudes on that team. It's got to be painstaking. And look, I went through back to back 100 lost seasons. But it was like, well, it's on purpose. You know, and so you had that going for you. I'm sorry, Schultze.
I appreciate you.
You're going through it.
Team was supposed to be better, even with the lack of additions this offseason. They were supposed to play better, but they're like one of the worst 5 batting teams in the majors right now.
Well,
it's terrible.
And their front office really is Lucy, and Mariners fans are Charlie Brown.
Yeah, they are. Like right when you think it's time,
Yeah.
there goes that football.
There goes that
and
football.
you're sitting there, butt over tea kettle.
I'll
Just
hold the ball and
whoop,
you kick.
Bam.
I promise this time.
This is gonna be nope. It's the same. It's the same.
Still, I'm pretty sure they are still the only team in all 4 major North American sports to never appear in their championship game or series. So just hockey, basketball,
Really?
baseball, football. Go look. Check me. Somebody
To
on.
never go to a conference champion.
No, not a conference, a
World Series.
So a World Series. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the NBA Finals, the World Series,
Okay,
the
I was
Stanley
like,
Cup.
they went to an ALCS.
Oh
It
yes,
didn't go
they
well.
have.
But
No,
they've
sorry.
been okay.
The championship game or series
of their league.
I
okay.
thought there was maybe another 2 or 3 teams or something, but
I believe the
guess not.
Rangers were it was the Rangers or the Washington Nationals in the last decade that were the last team to, other than the Mariners, to have that moniker.
Yeah.
But they obviously they both won one.
Yeah.
So, okay, in baseball, they're the only one. But in football, you have like the Jacksonville Jaguars who've never played in a Super Bowl,
right.
right?
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions have never played in a Super Bowl.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to make you feel better by lumping you in with the Jags and the Lions. I
Yeah.
don't think that's helping.
It's not much.
Like on the surface, I'm sitting here and my heart was in the right place, but it's not. It's not.
You name some
The
crappy
Hornets,
teams.
the Charlotte Hornets.
And later on when we talk the Jaguars and Josh Allen, we'll get into exactly why they've been a dumpster fire
Yeah,
for
well,
16 some years.
well, we remember though. Oh no, I need my drop board up, Schulte. Need the drop board up.
First year we took it to the limit.
Damn right.
The Jags did. They took
did.
it to, and that limit was the AFC Championship
Yep.
game.
And not again since.
Noted Jags fan Jeff Rust.
Yeah.
Right here today. You'll get hot Jags thoughts
Yes.
with Jeff Rust. We're jagging with Jeff. That's what we're going to call it. All right? When we talk the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're jagging with Jeff. What's funny about that?
I hope I didn't step on
it's
that.
It's alliteration.
Yeah, it certainly is. Nobody can argue.
Hey, how about this? Schulte, the Vancouver Ford text line, helping you out. 503-864-6326. The Clippers, they haven't been to a finals yet.
Oh, thank you.
So now
Oh, yeah,
we're up
see?
to the Cleveland Browns. We have the Browns, the Lions, the Jags.
Did the Browns not win
Clippers.
championships before the
Never
merger, though?
Before the merger. We don't
Yes.
count. That's no countsies.
And
That's
so do the
countsies.
Lions,
So do the
actually.
Lions. Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were a powerhouse in the 50s.
Well, and the Jaguars.
Wait, hold on. I think the Lions won it in 54, which 54% seems really on par with being aligning with the Mariners.
I see what you did there. I mean, the teams like the Jaguars, like they doesn't even matter. They came into the league in the 90s, right? So I guess that counts, but it doesn't. Like the Mariners have been in it since 1970. And that's what,
Oh.
60 years almost of nothing.
Oh, God, this is not going to make you feel good. 1954, the Cleveland Browns beat the Detroit Lions 56-10 in the NFL championship game. 54%. It's the curse of 54.
I mean,
Yes,
so
it is.
technically they have played in a championship game, which the Mariners never have.
Well, you know what this all means, too. The Mariners will be in the World Series in 2054.
God, I might be dead. You're a
It's-
jerk, but
hey.
you might be right.
That's not that far off. I saw
That's only 30 years.
somebody was like, the next, total solar eclipse isn't going to happen until on this path of totality until 2045. And I was like, that seems a long way. 19 years or wait, 21 years. 21 years.
Yeah.
We're only 21 years away.
Yeah.
Like that's not that 2045 seems like 100 years away
Yeah.
still.
Well, especially considering we just had one a couple of years ago, too. But,
Pay no attention to that.
I mean,
Doesn't the year 2045 just sound like the title of like a futuristic book or some crazy utopia
Or
that
a-
we just can't even imagine?
or a segment on Conan O'Brien. In the year
2000.
2000.
Yeah. Yeah. Conan and Andy Richter, they don't get enough credit for how
That was a hell of a duo.
brilliant they were.
Yeah, that was a hell of a duo.
Yeah.
They got hosed on the Tonight Show. They got hosed.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's get this show on the road, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. We will talk. I want to hear from Oregon State fans today. And as the dust is settling, we have heard from Damian Martinez on his personal reasoning why. Didn't go into details, but we heard a lot of, because that news broke during our show yesterday of Damian Martinez planning to enter the transfer portal. There's a lot of emotional reactions to that news in the state of the Oregon State football program and the state of Oregon State athletics. I want to talk a little bit about where Oregon State fans are today and moving forward with not just their football program, but athletics overall and kind of how we got there. We've got the par 3 competition is going on right now where you definitely get the vibe of the married men versus the single men during this.
Right?
Married with kids. But Augusta National is doing it again. I'm getting all the feels from it. And then we got some NBA stuff that we need to get to as well. You can send your top 5 wrestlers in. People are just doing that,
Yeah.
and that's going to happen. You haven't given me your list, and I demand it on a Wrestling Wednesday.
Well, I'd say I know we were in sync on the top 2
'Kay.
with Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, and I think the Hulkster even.
Okay. Well, I need those. I need your back too.
All right.
All right. I need to get your 4 and 5. All right. Schulte, don't think you're immune to this. You don't even have to be a wrestling guy. You can just name 5 wrestlers.
I mean, Hulk Hogan's in my top 3, so there you go.
I
There
think
you
I
go.
already got it. I think I rounded out with Stone Cold on The Rock.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Where we start in Tunta. A big win, but a curse. Next on The Fan.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with Isaac and
The swing of. What a rust.
I think you guys need to make that into an open.
What a rust! What a rust! And all the ladies in your house are just looking over like, oh, he's at it again.
There's that
There
dad.
he is. He's away.
At least he's got pants on this time.
As you get older, you start making weird sounds when you get up out of bed.
That is the truth, sir.
I mean, it's not a rush.
No, it's not a rush.
It's
It's a head rush when you stand up.
There you go. All right. Last night, we were waiting for the Milwaukee Bucks to turn things around, and boy, howdy, did they. They run away from the Boston Celtics 104-91 last night. An emphatic performance in a team that was skidding. I mean, they'd lost 4 in a row. 2 of those 4 games were as double-digit favorites, and they stubbed their toe. And that's the first time in back-to-back games that a team has done that in NBA history. They lose a pivotal game against the New York Knicks in that span, where the Knicks are now a game back of Milwaukee for the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. And last night was a win that everybody should have felt good about for the Milwaukee Bucks. But wait, there's more.
Yes.
Giannis Antetokounmpo goes down with a non-contact injury on an inbound to Damian Lillard. And watching that, did you see the double take Dame did when he gets the ball and he starts dribbling and then Giannis goes down with the left calf and Dame just like jerks his head back and was like, oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no, and then just kept moving down the floor. He leaves the game, and Giannis is now out with a calf strain, as the Milwaukee Bucks put it. His Achilles is fully intact.
Yeah.
Just something you never want to see as a fan of a team.
That was a big sigh of relief in Milwaukee. Well, so they say that with the calf strain, they can reevaluate or what have you in a week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
But calf strains are also notoriously tricky and can be extended greatly.
Well, and I think that there's this air of caution around the calf strain because of Kevin Durant, right, in Golden State, where, I mean, I think we all need to remember that Golden State was widely criticized for mismanaging that injury and allowing Kevin Durant to be a competitor and say, no, I want to go and play before rupturing his Achilles. Nobody is satisfied with, just a calf strain. Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
Especially with a guy that is as big and as explosive as Giannis is. If I'm a Bucks fan, like, this has been a tortured season in what should have been one of the most optimistic and exciting seasons for a Bucks fan, whether it was the way the season started and you're firing your coach.
A couple of weeks in.
Yeah, like a couple. Yeah, you right before the All-Star break even comes, you're canning your coach, and you're like, all right. In comes Doc Rivers to Damian Lillard in the slow gel that it took with him and Malik Beasley as your backcourt, and Chris Middleton has not been great. You know, the one consistent has been Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Well, and even Doc Rivers said, I don't understand why you guys are bringing me in. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think we know why, because you may say that, Doc, but you're also the reason why you're the guy you were mentoring got canned.
Yes.
and players felt in your favor, in the front office felt in your favor to get that gig. The guy I feel for Giannis going down with the calf strain, but here in Portland, I feel for Dame, right? Like.
Right.
All he has ever said, I want a chance to compete, I want a chance to win. And now you're sitting there and you got to look at it and be like, dude, is like Dame cursed? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, no, it hasn't exactly been a fun season for him anyway, just even at the personal level, you know, with getting divorced and being away from his family for the good chunk of the season. And yeah, so he's got to feel probably pretty well snake bitten at this point.
But without Giannis for the final week of the regular season, then you're looking at what does this mean for Milwaukee as you go into the postseason, where we've been talking about this because of the injury to Joel Embiid. The Philadelphia 76ers are sitting there in that 7 spot in the West right now and look every bit of a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference with a healthy Milwaukee, let alone an injured Giannis. Because of the injury luck of Philadelphia, they could be sitting there, and there's a potential that Giannis is either not back by the beginning of that series, or Giannis is just getting back as Philadelphia is starting to hit their stride, get healthy, and be one of the most dangerous teams in this entire playoffs.
Yeah, so Giannis would be pretty rusty trying to come back from that injury, and then you're still going to not quite trust it the first couple times you planned on it. Yeah, we could have another early playoff exit for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm going to think about this here and just throwing this out. Would would it be the worst thing in the world for Milwaukee if in this final stretch here, where I think they've got 3 games remaining, if they were to drop them or drop 2 of them and New York unseats them for that 2 seed to roll into the playoffs as the 3 instead of the 2? Because when you think of it in these terms, you would hit Indiana first, and Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton, who was playing at an all-NBA clip to start this season off. Ever since he hurt his hamstring, we saw his 3-point numbers dip dramatically. They have gone back up, and he has looked better over the last 10, 15 games. He's looked a little bit better, but still not as dominant as he once was. He was at the beginning of this season. If you were to sit there and instead of being the 2 seed, you are the 3 seed, you play Indiana to start this thing off. And then after that, you still got to go through Philly, but you get little bit of that rust that you were talking about with Giannis gets blown out, and all of a sudden maybe you're feeling a little bit better about yourself in the conference semifinals.
Well, and look, there's a realistic chance too that Milwaukee could drop their last 3 games of the season. They host the Magic tonight. Friday they are at Oklahoma City, and then Sunday they are at Orlando. And both of those teams are also juggling for playoff position.
And hey, you drop 2 to the Magic. If you drop 2 to the Magic right there, Orlando's only 2 games back.
Yep.
So there is a real possibility that you just don't drop to 3.
You got a 4.
Especially with 2 losses at the end of the year to that Orlando Magic team in tiebreaker situations.
And Cleveland also currently tied with Orlando.
And they're snake bit by injuries as well. I mean, the Eastern Conference is far more intriguing than the West is, which is turned completely on its head from what has been the last 20 years of the NBA, where the West has been more dominant. And I will say that when you look at it with Denver and Minnesota, Oklahoma City at the top of the Western Conference, they are fun teams that you have there. It is not like we have what we were going through when the Eastern Conference was, in the dredges and just you were looking at the 5 seed and going, would the 5 seed in the East make the playoffs? We're not in that territory anymore. But the Eastern Conference is far more exciting as we come down to the stretch, because you've got that Philly team sitting in the play-in. Miami, which was an 8 seed last year, ended up going to the NBA Finals. And then Boston, can they get over the hump this year? And then you have these snake bit teams like Milwaukee, New York, and Cleveland. Well, you throw Indiana in there, that despite the fact they've had major injuries throughout the course of the season, are still in that hunt and very dangerous.
Yeah, once you get past Boston, because they've lapped the field, but between number 2 Milwaukee and if you want to go all the way down to Philly at 7, you're separated by 3.5 games. You know what I mean? Which with 3 left doesn't make a ton of difference, but let's just take it to 6th. So you're separated by 2.5. So yeah, you could have a lot of movement there this last weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if it's bad luck for Dame. I mean, the Bucks are pretty close to being in danger, I think, of getting ousted out of that group pretty quickly in the playoffs, because it's been obvious to me that it's not really very, very obvious at the time who should be taking some of these shots, either Dame or Giannis on the court. Middleton's still trying to get his. Their pick and roll has just been jankety all year. Damian Lillard worked so smoothly with Yusuf Nurkic, now trying to do a pick and roll with Giannis, with Brook Lopez. I'm not a professional NBA player. I don't know how it would be trying to just implement a pick and roll with 2 totally different guys I've rarely played with outside of, the 6-month normal regular season in my past. So there's just so many things that obviously are just trouble for Dame to try to implement into a brand new team.
And I think a lot of that goes back to Adrian Griffin at the beginning of the season and what he stylistically was trying to do offensively in not running those pick and rolls when you have quite literally the most prolific pick and roll guard in NBA history in Damian Lillard. Like, Danny's not here to give us all of the numbers, but we've heard this so many damn times.
It's okay, I don't understand most of them anyway.
The numbers bear it out that Damian Lillard is the most prolific pick and roll guard that we have seen. And when Adrian Griffin threw a wrench in that thing early, and you play almost half of a season without having that be the focal point of your offense, Doc Rivers has implemented a little bit more, but there's a little bit of that adjustment period. Dame's shot from beyond the arc, and this is also, he's coming back from a groin injury too. he hasn't been the shooter that we knew him to be here in Portland either. And so you've had these struggles that in Chris Middleton, we can't talk about. Chris Middleton played really well last night for Milwaukee, but he has been struggling. And there's been these conversations amongst, Bucks fans of, has he crossed that threshold, and is he maybe not the same player that he was? You're going to need Chris Middleton to be the guy that we have seen over the last 6-7 years. If they are going to make a run, hell, if they're going to make it out of the first round of the playoffs, and that would be the most, the reaction on the national level. If Milwaukee gets bounced and Dame gets bounced early from the playoffs, it doesn't matter where Dame is or who he's around. And that will be wholly unfair to Damian Lillard. Because of the cluster, that this season has kind of brought upon itself in Milwaukee. But next year, all of a sudden, you go from, all right, maybe they have a small tweak, to you have to make some wholesale changes if Chris Middleton is not that guy and doesn't show up in the playoffs. And Beasley being a subpar defender paired with Damian Lillard, you can't have that in the backcourt with them.
Would these wholesale changes also include Doc Rivers?
You would think, but no, I doubt it does, because they gave him a multi-year deal, which is the weirdest thing in the world. Right? When he took over. It should start with him though, because nothing they haven't gotten better. They've regressed. Yeah. Adrian Griffin, at least they were winning games. They were 30-13 when he took over, and they are below that since Doc Rivers took over. It's a mind-boggling thing.
Almost wondering what it would have been like if Drew Holiday were still on the roster for them. Not to knock Dame, but you just wonder if the change in Milwaukee was something that they just couldn't handle. Like Giannis, he played with Drew Holiday for so long, and the change is not what he's used to, and not gonna work the same way it did going forward.
Yeah, 16-17 under Doc Rivers.
That's below 500, Bob.
That would be correct.
Math.
Sharp as a marble.
You guys are so smart.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I needed that today. All right, but Giannis, he is... don't panic, everybody. His Achilles is fully intact. Just a calf strain. Just a calf strain. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about is this texture on the Vancouver Ford text line. This sounds like Wes Matthews all over again. Nothing to worry about. Kevin Durant, nothing to worry about. Just don't worry.
Just don't worry.
It's just a calf strain.
Don't look over here.
I would be terrified if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan right now. 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. Hey, we're jagging with Jeff next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, good news for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, an MRI revealing his left Achilles is fully intact. He's going to return to the court as soon as a calf strain that he suffered in that same heap last night heals. The Portland Trailblazers are off today after the loss to the Pelicans last night, and the Pelicans did move into 6th place with that win, but you got the Nuggets and Timberwolves facing off at 7 p.m. on ESPN tonight for sole ownership of first place in the Western Conference. Some breaking news locally in the last hour. Former Trailblazer Ben McLemore has been arrested in Clackamas County and charged with rape and other sex crime allegations. The 31-year-old is currently on the roster for a team in Spain. And more bad news out of college football. Washington Huskies running back Tylen Rogers has been arrested and charged with the rape of 2 women in Seattle. Court documents state that he played in 2 playoff games after at least one allegation was known to the university. Rogers has been suspended from all team activities until further notice. And in Seattle, the Mariners actually not home right now, but they are facing off against the Blue Jays, trying to salvage the final game of the 3-game series. Top 3 still scoreless. Logan Gilbert, not too bad so far. A strikeout and just 1 hit through 2 innings. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's
New segment we're calling Jaggin' with Jeff. Jeff Rust, our in-house Jaguars fan.
Selected by Facebook.
First year, we took it to the limit.
And I could not... I'm sitting here and I'm going, there's no better person to be a Jags fan than you, my friend.
Sounds good.
You know?
Yeah.
I could see you being a little... You have a little bit of Florida man in you.
I could see that. Fair enough.
I mean, it's not a lot.
Fair enough.
It's not. It's just a little bit of
Just a
Florida
little
man.
bit, yeah.
Just a little. You just got a little bit of Florida man.
Yeah. In all the right places, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars. They agree to a massive extension with Josh Allen, not the quarterback. No, the pass rusher, Josh Allen, a 5-year, $150 million deal, $88 million of which is guaranteed. That's a big payday for the former Kentucky Wildcat, who came into the league just a year after the other Josh Allen.
Yep.
But we're seeing these paydays for whether it's defensive linemen, edge rushers. That number is growing and growing every single year. And it seems like a fair deal for one of truly the elite pass rushers since he's come into the league.
Yeah. Well, and with the way offensive rules have gone and quarterback play has gone, with all of those numbers going up, yeah, you want to pay your guys that are able to get to the quarterback.
Well, in Jacksonville's just one of those franchises where it doesn't matter how good you are. It's like you won't be noticed.
Right? Yeah. You're always a little under the radar.
Like, I think if you were to tell people that Josh Allen is near the top of the NFL since he entered the league, which is 5 years in the NFL, he is near the top of the NFL since he entered the league in pressures and sacks, I think people would be like, oh, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 6th in pressures and 10th in sacks over the past 3 seasons.
And he has been lights out for them on a team that you think of just how bad they were in 2 of those 3 seasons. They were not the best product that they could be putting out on the field, but Josh Allen has been absolutely electric for them, lived up to the hype of being a first-round pick for them.
He's already 2nd on their career sacks list.
And that was striking to me.
Yeah.
And you forget, like, okay, we don't have that much of a sample size for the Jags. We're approaching 30 years of the franchise existence, but in 5 seasons, he's already 2nd and only 10 sacks away from being the all-time sack leader in Jags history. And by the way, 17 and a half sacks last year.
Yes.
This is a guy that you sit there and you circle and you go, yeah, you can almost mark it, barring injury, 2024, he will become the all-time sacks leader in Jags history.
Well, and he came out and started like gangbusters. He got 10 and a half sacks in his rookie season, made the Pro Bowl that year. And then 2020, he got hurt, played half the season, only wound up with 2.5, and then 14 and a half sacks combined over the next 2. And then, just exploded with 17 and a half.
And I think one thing that we also look at with Jacksonville is that, because they have not been a beacon of stability in the National Football League, if you are good, you usually leave.
Right.
And that to me is like, this is kind of maybe one, you're giving the guy the bag, but you use the franchise tag on him and we're able to negotiate a long-term extension in an era where a lot of guys, they'll just be like, dude, you put the tag on me. I don't want to play in it. We're seeing a lot of these guys who have been tagged are actually signing long-term extensions with the team that they've been with.
9 guys franchise tagged this year. And so far, 7 of them have agreed to long-term deals.
So who are the 2 that we haven't?
Antoine Winfield Jr. and T. Higgins.
So you got the safety out of Tampa in Winfield Jr. And look, that one seems like it may be a matter of time. Or, this could be the slow play by Tampa and just saying, all right, maybe we'll allow him to play on the tag for a year because we do have a little bit of an unknown with the division getting better, obviously, with Kirk Cousins going down to Atlanta and being the quarterback there.
And I think he got till July 15th to sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so
then
there's still time.
You've got Baker Mayfield where, he had a great season last year.
He did.
And undeniably, what Baker Mayfield did last year, it was impressive. He performed like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL last year.
He did. But you wonder if that was just a flash, and there's going to be a bit of a market correction.
Dave Canales, who was the offensive coordinator, he is now up at Carolina as the head coach. You have turnover there. And do you want to invest in a safety, which is one of those positions where you go, all right, as we're seeing an influx of big contracts for defensive tackles across the NFL and capping defenses with 2 high safeties as opposed to just having one guy back there, having 2 safeties, do you need to pay premium for a safety? That one makes a little bit of sense.
Well, then why even slap the franchise tag on him then?
Because
you're paying them an average of the top 5.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then even at that, if you're hoping the end game is to do a long-term extension, you're going to be linking him up with big money.
Because what you're doing right now is you're saying we don't have better options. We have a team that we feel can be competitive this year. And still, considered a value on 1 year. If you have the cap space to do it, I mean, you're
You just don't want to let a good piece walk.
That's right.
Okay.
And then negotiate in good faith, and usually things work out. The other guy who hasn't signed was T. Higgins, which he's on the trade block, where who knows where T. Higgins lands. But we've already seen not happy with the franchise tag, looking for trade possibilities and a way out. We may see that market start to really ramp up leading up to the draft and in the wake of the draft, after teams sift through their receiver rooms and say, all right, we need one more, right? We need to maybe the value of that pick goes down a little bit as the draft approaches and gets closer and closer, with this being, an 11 deep wide receiver draft where, you're seeing a lot of the conversation about the receivers in the NFL just over the last couple of days. A guy like Xavier Leggett from South Carolina, he has just been vaulting up draft boards. Troy Franklin, they're saying now early day 2 would be where Troy Franklin goes. So a lot of these guys that, were, they're the deep receiver class. You're seeing their stock go up a little bit higher and a little bit higher.
Yeah.
You may have a little bit market depression on what T. Higgins could bring you, because he's always been a number 2, and he will be a number 2 on a very good team.
One note on the Jaguars' instability.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, just the third of the Jaguars' 14 first-round picks from 2008 to 2020 to sign an extension with the team, joining defensive tackle Tyson Alualu, 2010, and Blake Bortles, 2014.
Wait, what was that? 2008?
From 08 to 2020, 14 first-round draft picks. Allen is just the third to sign an extension. The rest either traded, cut, or suspended.
And one of them being Blake Bortles.
And 12 of those 14 were drafted in the top 10, with 6 in the top 5.
To quote the great Gardner Minshew, God dang.
It was brutal, dude.
That's brutal, dude. Are any of those guys
working construction, ripping cigs?
Probably somebody. No, Blake Bortles might be.
Yeah. Actually, Blake Bortles, I saw a clip of he's building a house, and he is like, he was helping, like, this was like last spring, summer. He was actually helping with the construction of his home.
Of course.
So he was out there, hammering nails. Yeah.
I got nothing to do.
Just working construction. Hopefully he was ripping some cigs. Like a Florida man will. You tell me you wouldn't hang with Blake Bortles?
Oh, I probably would.
Yeah, you would.
I don't know. I wouldn't build a house with him. Drinking Bud Light Limes in the sun. That's what I feel like he'd be doing.
Bortles strikes me as a Mick Ultra. He's Michelob Ultra, I think.
Yeah, gotta watch those carbs.
Yeah, and that's what he's gonna tell you. He's like, dude, I'm a quarterback with a big trunk on me. Yeah. I can't be out here, heavy. I can't drink Bud Heavy.
He's a former quarterback. He can go all Val Kilmer and push away from he'd been pushing away from the table for all his life. Everybody laughed at Val Kilmer after he got chubby. It's like, dude, food tastes good. You get it.
I'll tell you what.
Food does taste good.
Yeah.
There is nothing more jarring than when you see a quarterback a few years later and you're like, whoa.
Big belly.
They're usually the guys that have it together. Like to be the you got to have it together.
Yeah.
And when you see that quarterback, you're like, oh.
Yeah, you really missed that training table, huh?
Hey, buddy. You've been living that good life. I like it. All right. Well, hey. Jagging with Jeff. We got a lot of good Jags nuggets in there. Yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely. And they're on their way up. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy this year.
Yeah. I mean, you better hope for it.
That was their downfall, the end of last year.
We need to get you with a Jags futures bet.
See, I'm just not a gambler.
Well, it's not gambling. It's winning with your team, Jeff. That's the way you got to frame it. Mentally, you got to rewire yourself. You're riding with your team. It may be the under on the win total, but you're riding with them. All right?
All right. We'll see what we can do.
Don't be judged. A wild story breaking here in Portland next on The Fan.
It's The Fan on Demand.
They're kind of fun to play with, aren't they?
Now
got a text from a couple of people earlier about this. Ben McLemore, former Portland Trailblazer. And it's weird that it's like former Portland Trailblazer because of where he gets arrested.
Right.
He played 64 games for the Blazers a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a former lottery pick out of Kansas and of the Sacramento Kings. He kind of bounced around the NBA. He was arrested in Clackamas County on 3 different charges, including first-degree rape, first-degree unlawful sexual penetration, and second-degree sexual abuse in Clackamas County. And these stories, they never... you're always surprised.
Yeah.
Every time you hear them.
Right.
I'm just... but you're also not surprised that something like this is happening, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if... I know when I read this when it first broke, there weren't a ton of details in there, or really any details. I don't know if that's changed, but yeah. So we don't really know the circumstances, and not that that really matters. If he's getting arrested for it, then clearly there's something there to these allegations. But yeah, it's always sucks to see something like that, you know?
Yeah, it does. And apparently he's been bouncing around over in China, Greece, just signed with a team in Spain, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
It's always amazing to me how we hear of how guys don't want to play in Portland and guys don't want to be in Portland, yet you see a guy who played 64 games here a couple of years ago is somehow back in Portland and allegedly committing horrific crimes.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when the crime was committed, when the incident was, but he flew back here basically to turn himself in.
A wild story. We'll keep you updated if anything else comes out. But this is basically your baseline of it. Ben McLemore arrested and booked in Clackamas County Jail on 3 charges relating to a rape case. Yeah. And again, played here 2 years ago, 64 games. But just nasty stuff.
It is. And unfortunately, it's not the only rape case we're probably going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Yeah, my updates suck. It's not fun when you have to read 2 different stories. And there's actually a third regarding a former NFL linebacker that I just haven't had time to put in.
When your update is basically an entire police blotter.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, not good. And yeah, Ben McLemore, he last played in the NBA for the Blazers, which is why I thought it was pertinent to mention.
And and then here's the thing. This is coming out all over social media as former Blazer, arrested and booked in our state in Clackamas County, and last NBA team he played for. All right, hey, let's get to hour number 2. We got our worst day on the web coming up next hour. We've got some college football notes and nuggies for you. I'm going to slide those little nuggies across the table to you. But where we start hour number 2, take an inventory of the big news of yesterday and how the statement is sitting with Beaver Nation. 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Join 1080 The Fan and Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This Earth Day, we're teaming up with Free Geek for our Tech Now Drive. On April 19th, bring your unused laptop laptops, tablets, and mobile phones to Washington Square. Free Geek's goal is to divert technology that would otherwise be recycled or thrown away, refurbish it, and give it back to our community at low or no cost. Our tech drive is Friday, April 19th from 11 to 4 in the Washington Square Mall parking lot. For more info, go to freegeek.org/technow.
For all station contest rules, go to 1080thefan.com/rules.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really helped me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-494-7174. 800-494-7174. 800-494-7174.
The home of Danny and Dusty, always live on the Odyssey app, is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan.
Who is the yacht rock of the NFL?
Are you kidding me?
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Reynolds Defense Firm. If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, good news for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. An MRI revealing his left Achilles is fully intact, and he will return to the court as soon as his calf strain heals. The Portland Trailblazers are off today after the loss to the Pelicans last night, but you got the Nuggets and Timberwolves facing off at 7 p.m. tonight on ESPN for sole ownership of first place in the Western Conference. Locally, former Trailblazer Ben McLemore has been arrested in Clackamas County and charged with rape and other sex crime allegations. The 31-year-old is currently on the roster for a team in Spain. More bad news out of college football. Washington Huskies running back Tylen Rogers has also been arrested and charged with the rape of 2 women in Seattle. Court documents state that he played in 2 playoff games after at least one allegation was known to the university. Rogers has been suspended from all team activities. The Seattle Mariners trying to salvage the final game of the series against the Toronto Blue Jays today. Yusei Kikuchi and Logan Gilbert on the bump, and the Mariners actually just taken the lead a second ago thanks to an RBI single from J.P. Crawford. They lead at 1-0 in the bottom of the 4th. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigard is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Portland, if you've ever wondered where to get your Blazers, Ducks, and Beavs, it's right here on the airwaves of 1080. 1080 The Fan with Danny and Dusty. It's Danny and Dusty and Rust from noon till 3.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty here on a Wednesday. It's a Rusty and Dusty edition.
What?
Thanks for partying with us today. Whether it's on The Fan, youtube.com/1080am, The Fan 99.5 HD2, twitch.tv, the Odyssey app, wherever you take in this program. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's take a little bit of inventory here, Rusty. You weren't here yesterday when this news broke.
No.
Damian Martinez entered the transfer portal, or intends to enter the transfer portal when it opens on April 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a jarring announcement to Beaver fans because of what he had said.
Just a few months ago
after Jonathan Smith left and how committed he was to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Here we are just a few practices into spring ball, and it's like deuces.
Yeah. It is a tough look because of the way it would coming up right about 4 months ago now, I think before Christmas, where he said that he was going to be staying, and he felt betrayed by Coach Smith. And I was trying to think of the timeline of when it was that the coach said he was leaving, and then when he said that he's going to stay. But, trying to give him credit for maybe it was just an emotional decision at the time to be like, all right, screw this. I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight through it. And even then it still might have been because it was just still pretty fresh, a month or so.
Yeah.
And look, he's also basically a kid, and people change their minds. What are you going to do? And I can't blame him for doing it.
Excuse me. No, you can't blame the kid for looking out for his best interest.
Yeah.
But where I think the larger question that looms around Oregon State fans is, all right, well, what changed with you? What was it that changed? We had the Pete Thamel report yesterday that we talked about with $400,000 is the NIL that he was in line to get this year at Oregon State. And even at that point, he said, not enough. And I said this yesterday, I continue to say it, whether it's recruiting or retention of your roster. Look, all of the Power 5 programs have money, even the ones that don't have, the buku bucks. You have money that you will give to your stars.
Right.
It will get your foot in the door in recruiting. It can help close in recruiting. It does not dictate everything because everybody has that money. They do.
Yeah.
And so when we get the real story out of Damian Martinez, who he released a statement, and I'm not sure that it sits well with Beaver fans right now. Well, I know it doesn't sit well with Beaver fans right now because, look, you're the scorn lover, and you have every right to feel scorned by Damian Martinez because this is the best player on your roster.
Yeah.
He accounted for, over 1,300 yards last year for Oregon State, and they return now with him gone 598 yards of total offense. That's it.
Yeah, thanks.
That is it.
Man.
And what Martinez's statement was this morning, he posted it, said, some decisions are harder than others, and this is easily the hardest one I've made in my entire life. I want to thank every coach, fan, and Beaver Nation as a whole for your love and support. I can truly say I've given my all to Oregon State and appreciate everything OSU has given me. After long talks with my family and the people closest to me, I intend to enter the transfer portal to continue chasing my childhood dreams for this upcoming season. I'm looking forward to what is coming next. Please respect my decision.
I was waiting for that.
That's not going to happen.
Phrase.
It sucks that his decision won't be respected.
Right.
But that's the world we live in right now. And look, there's a lot of pissed off Beaver fans, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
The hard part is he's just dealing with the cards that have been dealt to him. And he's just the latest in a line of the example of what started or should be blamed at the top of the administration in that school is just that S rolls downhill.
Yeah.
And it rolled downhill and finally caught him too.
Well, we went through all this yesterday, the litany of things that could have, arisen since he made his, support of Oregon State and commitment to Oregon State and staying, whether it is taking a look at the room and going, this is not it, or maybe the culture has changed so dramatically with Jonathan Smith gone that it isn't the same Oregon State football program. It could be just as simple as, hey, I'm potentially one of the best running backs in the next year's draft class.
Yeah.
And I want to bolster my stock as much as I can. I saw what the bump that Blake Corum got after being not as productive as he was pre-knee injury, wins a national title.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, Blake Corum.
Yeah, and guess what? You're just not going to get those kinds of eyes on you at Oregon State
anymore. You won't. But the larger question, it was to the reaction of Oregon State fans yesterday, and where do you sit with not just the football program, but the athletic department as a whole? Because there's a lot of, well, we've given the money, and the money isn't keeping guys.
Right.
What do we need to do? We're getting lapped. We're getting left behind. We are in no man's land right now.
Yeah.
Where do Beaver fans sit with Oregon State?
They have to realize that they're not playing with the big boys anymore. Even as much as they weren't really before, they were always kind of still the little brother to the big boys, but now they're they're the little redheaded stepchild.
Well, this text on the Vancouver Ford text line, your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. 503-864-6326 says, OSU now more than ever is just a farm team for the Power Four. Literally, absolutely no reason to be excited or optimistic about anything relating to the future of Beaver Athletics. Only hope now is the baseball team wins it all this year before they get picked over.
Yikes.
I can't, I mean, I understand that line of thinking.
Yeah.
You get pushed to the little kids table in the conference realignment shuffle. Even these small victories of you and Washington State sharing that $100 million over the next 2 years to, keep you afloat as you figure out what's going on.
Right.
I understand that the apprehension of will they actually figure it out, because you can go back 3 presidents ago to Ed Ray of the university, who was the most staunch defender of Larry Scott, in that, look, that ultimately sank the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Right? Was how long he was in command. Now, it just wasn't Ed Ray. I mean, Michael Crow down at Arizona State, he played a massive role in that as well. But those were the 2 that everybody, whether it's John Wilner, whether it's the national college sports insiders, they say those were the defenders of Larry Scott. You can go back 3 presidents ago. Now you're sitting there and there's a lot of vitriol towards Scott Barnes, and we've got texts coming in flooding the text line about Scott Barnes. And can someone please explain why Scott Barnes, why OSU pays Scott Barnes like he's running a top 20 athletic department in the country? He literally cheaped out and now we lost it. And screwed up the athletic departments.
I think I found it here. Cheaped out and done nothing but hire former alums, and so far has been lucky with those hires. Bray, TBD, but he's responsible for paying Tinkle so much for so long because of a single 2 to 3 week run they couldn't get out of. He is the highest paid coach at OSU and consistently produces the worst product. That's on Barnes.
Look, the Wayne Tinkle extension, when you go to the Elite Eight, you get an extension.
Yeah. That
always happens,
that's the business of college sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it doesn't always work out, and it is not working out on the men's basketball side. Whether you look at women's basketball, and Scott Rueck is in a great place, and that is one of those alums who cares deeply about the program. And now you got to worry about, is Stanford going to come knocking on the door of Scott Rueck and say, Tara Vanderveer stepping down and retiring yesterday.
Yeah.
Does Stanford go and take a look at a West Coast guy and the opportunity to coach in the ACC for Rueck now? Is that going to be appealing to him? I don't think it will be, because he is entrenched in Oregon State. But you also look at the turnover on the roster so far, and it may not be done yet. Who knows where he is at? Mitch Canham has massive shoes to fill in replacing Pat Casey. He has done a phenomenal job, and they are a top 5 program in college baseball yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And he has done a remarkable job in filling the shoes. Nobody wants to follow the legend. He's following the legend, doing a very damn good job at it.
Yeah.
Trent Bray is TBD, and this is going to be the really interesting part for Oregon State is you can't afford to let this backslide. You can't, you're not in a position where you can say, hey, well, we're going to let him figure it out. You really aren't.
Yeah.
And that's a tough spot for Bray to be in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really tough spot for the athletic department to be in, too.
Well, and what the school administration needs to be focusing on is not just focusing on the immediate future and what to do right now, but they need to be looking ahead to what still could be a changing landscape with the uncertainty of the ACC, because you could have a whole nother round of realignments coming up, and so that they need to stay focused on that and see if they can get themselves back to relevant again.
Yeah, this Damian Martinez news, it just reminds me of the feeling I got when, as a Duck fan, they got left in the lurch twice by Willie Taggart and Mario Cristobal, keys to their program, not players, but at the time, what we thought, and Mario was at the time, key to Oregon's success as a whole and key to their marketing campaign, right? Damian Martinez was essentially the Oregon State marketing campaign for this year. I get it. It sucks. It's just, this is kind of what happens when we get to these points, but I feel for you Beavers fans, and if I'm you, I put all the money that I can into this program. I buy season tickets supporting my sports, not because you are a fan of Scott Barnes, not because you're a fan of any of their coaches or their athletic directors, but simply put, you have to show love because the people above you, the people running these departments are not showing any love. So it is up to you.
Yep. This is a text says, former Beaver player and current Beaver fan. I get and respect the decision 100%. Makes me sad more than angry. And that is where I think that's why I wanted to have this discussion today, is because yesterday it was all anger.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like there was a lot of anger over it. The dust settles a little bit and you start to realize it. And that, I think, is where Oregon State is, because it is not, that's where the Beaver fans should be, is less angry, more just like, boy, life comes at you fast because of all of the optimism that there was entering last season. And then Jonathan Smith leaves. You know, this is after the conference realignment shuffle happens. It was like, if we can hold on to our own in Jonathan Smith, the football program will be okay. And then Smith leaves.
Yeah.
And the mass exodus everywhere else happens. You lose Aiden Childs, you lose your receiver room, you have so much turnover in that roster, but you had that hope of Damian Martinez and Josh Gray were going to be the guys that hold this bad boy together. And maybe, just maybe, you can gain a little bit momentum by not playing a truly bona fide Power 5 schedule, despite the fact you do have Oregon, Purdue, Washington State, Cal on the schedule. It's a Mountain West schedule.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and you can look for the hope and build forward and stay relevant. That's the goal over the next 2 years. Is Oregon State has got to just stay relevant. And how do you do that when the guy who was your biggest supporter and the biggest backer in Damian Martinez says, deuces finally?
Yeah. They're in an unfortunate position, and they just got to see how they can climb their way out of it.
You clean house. I think there's something going on there, and you got to just poof and start all over again, I feel like.
Yep. Another text comes in that says, I don't fault Damian. I just wish he would have just left when Smith did. This hurts more now, and you know he's already collected some of the NIL money. That's a big one, too. I would say, and we saw people saying yesterday, and like this text says, speaking pretty broadly about Beaver fan, I'm a diehard, and while I'm sad, I totally get it. He's going to go get a ton of money in a better O-line. B fans are smarter than you're giving us credit for. What we saw yesterday was a lot of, I'm just done with the athletic department.
Yeah.
And like this text right here. Why? Donating to NIL doesn't make a difference. Can't keep anyone anyway. Like a majority of fans are more level-headed, and being sad as opposed to angry is that smarter play and is the way that a lot of them are. But here's the question. Is that donating to NIL a fool's game? We'll get to that next. Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with Isaac and
No free ads, but snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah. Is NIL a fool's game at a program like Oregon State? That's what a lot of fans are asking right now. And this is financially, you have got to be able to pay the guys that are worthy of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is, you need to have some money to be distributed. And this is the thing, is that whether that takes form of NIL or, the legislation that is coming down the pipeline that will, in all likelihood, make student athletes employees, that's going to be funded the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not kidding ourselves. It's going to be largely donation-based for the way that your compensation is doled out to your student athletes.
They're doing a GoFundMe.
Them's the breaks, and that's the reality of it. And this is where you go. I think that in this era of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, it is so hard for schools to wrap their heads around how to operate in this space. You see the programs that are doing it better than anybody else. UConn basketball is a great example of this. UConn basketball is not as deep in the pocketbooks as, a lot of other programs are out there.
Right.
They are steeped in tradition. They identify the talent that is perfect. And this is what Jonathan Smith did so well at Oregon State. Identifying the talent, getting on them early, and then you have to find a special kind of player to go there. And there is a lot more vetting. And it takes a lot more legwork.
Yeah.
And you have to be more specific in where you allocate that money. And that's on the athletic department. And that will be on these athletic departments moving forward. But I've seen a lot of Oregon State fans, and again, it's not all of them, and everybody's just like, oh, this isn't all Beaver fans. Well, yeah, but there's a vocal minority that is trying to say, nope, not worth it one bit to invest in the program. Yeah. And that investment isn't from guys like you and I.
Right.
That investment comes from your mega donors, the people that are built like that financially.
Yeah. Your Reesers, are they getting any of that NVIDIA money?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. But the idea that you just get out of that space and that space isn't important, that's very short-sighted because of the way that athletics is transforming. That in the particular space that Oregon State and Washington State are in right now, which is no man's land. You've got to make sure that you are in a place to, when it comes time, if there comes a time to compete financially and you get into a big conference, you are ready to do it. And it's like we've talked about this with Oregon State and the way that they, slow played the renovations to Reser Stadium. They did it the right way, where they paid down their debt and then they started spending money on facility upgrades and all that jazz. Now you're in a space where you have got to make sure that you position yourself to, one, make yourself attractive to a new partner,
right? Whether
it's a Super League or a Power Four conference, but also so you don't get lapped by the Mountain West, because it is important to the Boise States,
exactly.
San Diego State, UNLV's got an influx of money now.
Yeah, you can't just say F it and throw your hands up in the air and say that's it, I'm done, I'm out, because then you're going to become you will go to the depths of irrelevance.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Like this text, need some of that live golf money for Beaver football. If you go down, just get in bed with the Saudis.
Right. All it takes is one of you.
Good Lord. This text, it's not amateur athletics anymore. Fans shouldn't fund players' paychecks. The kids should be employees of the university. Yeah, and we're going down that road. That road is coming very quickly. But how much you can afford to pay the student athletes, it's going to be dependent on how much money that athletic department rakes in. Just like any other business, if you don't have the cash, you ain't going to have the employees, and you're not going to have the better employees ask for a higher premium on that paycheck, right?
Yep.
And so I think that's one of the ones that you look at and you go, it's not time to abandon ship. by any stretch. And like, look, I look at, and I said this yesterday, one of the darkest hours of Oregon State football was Gary Anderson era. And we remember that there was a rallying cry, and at Washington State as well, prior to the Mike Leach hiring. After Paul Wolf, it was, if you want to show your support, I think it was Bill Moose who said it, if you want to show your support, open up your checkbook.
Yeah.
And that is where the separating factor will be with Oregon State, Washington State in their new lot in life, which very may well be the Mountain West moving forward or a group of 5 school.
Yeah.
It could change and they could end up in a power conference, but that's going to be the big separator is the fan support. And I don't blame fans for being mad, sad, all of it.
Yeah, look, you're the sixth that just got dumped by your wife who made all the money, so now you're trying to pick up all the pieces and figure out how to move forward.
Yep.
How am I going to pay the rent?
Yeah. Yeah. This text says, my friend who is the most diehard Beaver fan I know told me today he won't even go to a game next year. See, in a lot of that, I believe that come August, it's going to change because, look, this is what's going to happen. Beaver fans are going to convince themselves that, Jam Griffin, who is back after a one-year pit stop at Ole Miss, is back. Anthony Hankerson came in from Colorado, who was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't their future with Dylan Edwards.
Right.
The guys, you'll talk yourselves into Newell, Griffin, Hankerson. You'll talk this is how fandom works.
Right.
What you're going through right now as a fan is exactly how every player reacts when the coach leaves. Like, you're sitting there, some get pissed, they jump ship, and they're out immediately, okay? Some say, I'm going to see this through, and then cooler heads prevail, and you sit there and you take a look at the landscape and you say, I'm either in or I'm out. And some are going to go the Damian Martinez way, where they're like, hell no, I'm in. And then all of a sudden the season's going to start and you're going to go, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality of it. Then I went through 3 head coaches in college. Seen it before. Yeah. It's something that happens where you're just sitting there and there's a lot of emotions that happen when you feel like you're getting left behind, and especially when you feel like you're getting left for something that isn't as attractive as what you love and what you care about, which in this case is Oregon State athletics. You care about it, you have a passion for it, and it sucks that anybody would say, deuces, I'm out.
Right.
Especially when it's a guy like Jonathan Smith and it's one of your own. Especially when it's a Damian Martinez who says how much he cares about Oregon State and then turns and bolts a couple months later. It's a hard position to be in.
It is. I don't envy Beaver fan. But yeah, you gotta look in the proper directions and blame the right people. And the ones that we're angry at from yesterday are just doing the best they can to deal with the situation too.
Yep, absolutely. All right, 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Hey, the worst day on the web takes a turn for the better. That after, not Rust, Schultze with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, good news for the Milwaukee Bucks today, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Giannis Antetokounmpo has at least a calf strain, but no torn Achilles. The Achilles is fully intact after suffering an injury in last night's win, and he will return to the court as soon as that calf strain heals. Elsewhere, the Blazers are off today after losing to the Pelicans last night, but the Nuggets and Timberwolves facing off at 7 p.m. on ESPN for sole ownership of first place in the Western Conference. Some breaking news this afternoon locally. Former Trailblazer Ben McLemore has been arrested in Clackamas County and charged with rape and other sex crime allegations. The 31-year-old currently on the roster for a team in Spain. More bad news out of college football. Washington Huskies running back Tylan Rogers has been arrested and charged with the rape of 2 women in Seattle. He has been suspended from all team activities until further notice. And in baseball, the Seattle Mariners are trying to salvage 1 game of their 3-game series in Toronto against the Blue Jays. They're starting the season out 4-8. Getting into the top of the 7th, they do lead 1-0 thanks to an RBI single from J.P. Crawford. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Prescriptions require.
All right, it is now time for our worst day on the web, which is actually a bright spot today, huh?
It's nice to have one of those for once.
Yeah. You know, golfer Gary Woodland?
Yeah.
The Woodland Creature? If that's not his nickname, it needs to be.
Anybody with Woodland Creature in their name, you know that's an interesting one.
You've got to be the Woodland Creature, you know, just out there singing putts. Today is the par 3 contest at Augusta National. And Gary Woodland hit his first hole-in-one as a member of the par 3 contest. And what is impressive about that is that this comes 6 months after brain surgery that saved his life.
That's a pretty impressive comeback.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Well, and apparently not as impressive as DeMar Hamlin, who didn't even win Comeback Player of the Year in the NFL. So Joe Flacco beat him out for that one, which I still don't know how that happened.
Yeah. Joe Flacco didn't even have to die.
No.
I didn't. I'm on the other side of this one, Dusty. I did not know that the Comeback Player of the Year involved dying and coming back. I thought it was all about, like, on the field, whether or not you play well.
Oh, you mean the guy who threw more interceptions than touchdowns? That guy? We talking about that Joe Flacco?
Yeah, well, and the fact that the guy that died on the field managed to come back and live on the field
and play again.
Didn't Joe Flacco lead the Browns to the playoffs? Just throwing that out there.
What happened in that playoff game?
I'm not saying that they played well in the playoffs
because Joe Flacco still sucks.
Hey, but he came
back.
back.
They're like, oh, Joe Flacco, great story. He threw like 15 picks in 4 games.
Okay. I sound like an ass, but like hey, congrats to DeMar Hamlin. I love that you are alive, and I love that we have this amazing medical like facilities like right there. But like
it's amazing.
Doesn't mean he deserves Comeback Player of the Year. I'm sorry.
And Joe Flacco did. Joe Flacco. Here we go. In 5 games, 8 interceptions. He threw 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. 8 interceptions in 5 games. And that's what we're giving our Comeback Player of the Year to. 13.
That ain't bad. 13 and 8. I'll take it, baby.
You shouldn't. No, people shouldn't be like, that's okay.
In a league with very mediocre quarterbacks where at least half the guys starting on teams are closer to backup talent than starting talent, really? No, I'll take 13 and 8 any day of the week.
No, not over the guy who died on a field and then came back to play.
Oh, God. You and I will never agree about this, and that's okay.
No, I am anti Joe Flacco. Would we have given Deshaun Watson the Comeback Player of the Year, who had a higher completion percentage, had a better touchdown interception ratio? Because Joe Flacco went 13 and 8, Deshaun Watson went 7 and 4.
Would the NFL ever allow him to win another award?
No. And he shouldn't, as shouldn't Joe Flacco.
So yeah, well, I'm not anti Joe Flacco. I'm just pro DeMar Hamlin.
Yes.
And anti.
No, I'm anti Joe Flacco, but it was cool. It was cool. It was cool. Not as cool as Gary Woodland. He had a brain lesion.
Yeah.
That is horrifying.
Yeah.
And he comes back. He hits a hole-in-one today. And that's a cool thing about the par 3 contest. You got guys like stories like Gary Woodland hits his first in the par 3 6 months after surgery on his brain.
Yeah.
You get Jack's grandson hit a hole-in-one today as his caddy.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculously awesome.
That's pretty killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or what's cooler, hitting a hole-in-one there on the bag for your grandfather, or just the fact that your grandfather is Jack Nicklaus?
Jack Nicklaus being your grandfather is pretty damn cool, but then you can one-up that by saying he hit a hole-in-one on his bag.
Yeah, I would say
par 3 contest.
Some people out there, that hole-in-one would be the peak of their life. I think just being a Nicklaus, that's probably, he's got so many more things going on.
Heck yeah. It's pretty cool, man.
That is pretty cool.
It is. It is pretty awesome. Despite what you think of Joe Flacco, Gary Woodland hitting a hole-in-one at the par 3 contest 6 months after brain surgery.
And then we also had Luke List, Augusta's own.
Yeah, in your hometown.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Nailing a hole-in-one.
I think Augusta National Golf Club. It might be the #1 sports venue in my opinion.
I think you'd have a hard time topping it.
Like you go any sport, anytime, I'm going Augusta National.
Yeah. Well, and what's so cool about this event too is that the next 4 days, look, that golf course and everything and the broadcast, it's all pretty well buttoned up and stuffy and tucked in shirt. what's nice about this is they just go completely the opposite way pretty much. And it's just, I don't want to call it a free for all, but they go out there and they have fun and it's all about having fun.
Yeah, like, women and children on the course.
Yeah, exactly.
Right alongside. I saw Condoleezza Rice on the tee box. Like, it's like you may think you're highfalutin. You still got to work that tee box. You're an usher today,
Yeah.
Condi. I don't care what your role was in our government. I don't care the fact that you were apparently interviewed for the Cleveland Browns head coaching job for some reason. You're going to be working this tee box.
Head coaching job?
You remember that?
That would have been so
You remember
Browns.
that Shefty? He said that they were considering Condoleezza Rice.
Man, are we sure that wasn't an April Fool's?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a thing. Man, that would have been so Browns.
Yeah. November 18th, pretty far away from April Fool's.
Not April Fool's.
This comes from Adam Schefter. Browns want to interview Condoleezza Rice for head coaching job.
Is the river that polluted?
What? I mean, she was in talks to be NFL commissioner like a decade
Like
so
that I could
ago,
see.
but
That
no.
that would make sense. But head coach?
How great
Yeah.
is that?
Man.
Lifelong Browns fan.
Like team president. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? But,
Shattering glass ceilings.
man.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if
I can't
no
imagine
matter
Condi calling for the spider Y banana.
no matter what your team does, just know there was a time where the Cleveland Browns, it was a legitimate report from an NFL newsbreaker and Adam Schefter.
That's amazing.
That they wanted to interview her for the head coaching job, which she said no to. She knows. I think they did a pretty good job. Kevin Stefanski's done an okay job.
He's done okay.
He coached Joe Flacco to comeback player of the year.
God, what level of desperation are you at as an organization, though?
Oh, pretty desperate. I think
you know,
we forget how bad the Browns are.
Hillary Clinton was a pretty good senator. Maybe we should call her. Like, what the hell are we doing?
I have a feeling like that is the line of thinking there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, who are Browns fans? Let's be like, honestly, Blazers fired Chauncey Billups. Woj says the Portland Trailblazers have contacted Katie Lang about her interest in the head coaching job. What?
I think Katie Langmore knows more of the X's and O's though than the other two.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the most Blazers thing I've heard all month. God.
Oh, good golly,
One
Miss
might
Molly.
say she's got a constant craving for NBA basketball.
Is that a song of hers? Because I do
That's
not.
her most famous song.
Constant
If you heard it, you'd
cravings
recognize it.
Has always been, yeah.
You would recognize it.
I'm singing it and he's still like, what the hell are you doing?
No, and you did a good job of singing that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what the song
This
sounds
is
like,
what,
but
late
I enjoyed
80s,
your
early 90s?
rendition of it. Yeah, I have no idea. Not big into the Katie Lang catalog.
Well, nor am I. I just know that one.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
not. I have no idea about that really at all. At all.
92.
1992.
Yeah.
All right. I was 8 years old. Can't see how I missed that one. Just slipped right past me. All right. Let's head up north. This is another wild story out of Seattle. How? Next on the Fan.
A college gridiron reset.
It is called the want to say this is former. We'll use this as former Washington Husky Tybo Rogers.
I think he's only currently suspended.
Yeah, I have
But
a feeling that
probably
this
soon to be
is-
former.
Yeah. He has been charged with second and third degree felony rape charges. The running back apparently 2 different occurrences.
Yes.
In October and November of last year.
Well, the first one, I think he first met her at a Halloween party. The incident happened in November, but then the second one, I believe, was in February. I think. No. I'm sorry.
No.
Charged or
the allegations came to light
There we go.
in February from
Thank
the
you.
November incident, but 2 different charges, and he was arrested on Friday, and this is all just coming out. And look, Christian Capel of On Montlake, he has got a detailed,
yes,
and rather graphic write-up on the allegations.
It's pretty unsettling.
But this goes back to the larger story and the larger issue here is that the University of Washington knew about the first allegation,
yes,
suspended him temporarily, and then allowed him to play in both the college football playoff semifinal and championship game.
Yeah, but also after not letting him travel to the Pac-12 championship game.
That's right.
So they held him out of that and then brought him back.
And then they brought him back on the roster. And then, this is where you get into the university doing their due diligence or lack thereof.
Right.
And bringing a player back. But then you also have another layer of this story, which I think Jed Fish did the right thing is when he took over the program and from Kalen DeBoer, who left, what all head coaches do, you get to lay the land on what's going on, right? When he found out about the allegations, immediately, boom, suspended.
Yeah.
Done. They're going to let it play out. They're going to, because he will have his day in court.
Right.
And that's why it is a suspension right now. But Jed Fish is sitting there answering questions yesterday at UW's practice.
Yeah.
And there was a reporter that goes, he was like, when I find out about the allegations, I suspended him. That's it. He's not part of the program.
Yeah.
A reporter asks him, she tells him, that's not true.
Uh-huh.
Because you found out about this, and then you let him play in the Sugar Bowl in the national championship game. And he was like, I wasn't the coach.
Yeah, nothing like being loud and wrong.
God, they give credentials to anybody nowadays.
Well,
don't they?
I mean, I feel that is a news reporter who is covering the team,
Still,
not a
right.
sports reporter.
Do
that
your research.
do a little
you
digging, man.
should know that Jed Fish took over the program after the season ended.
They probably
In
aired the press
question.
conference on their news station or clips of it. Come on.
But the details that Christian Capel lays out, they are graphic, and this does not look good for Tybo Rogers or the University of Washington, which could find themselves in some legal hot water if you are allowing him to continue to play for the university.
How much does
if nothing else, reputationally?
How much does Kalen DeBoer and his staff have to answer about this?
Yeah, I feel like the University of Washington wouldn't have to present them, but if there were legal charges to them specifically, if there's nothing like Kalen or Alabama can do, they have to go respond to that, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows what there could be. But reputationally, yeah, I think that these are questions. And look, this isn't the first head coach who's done this. We know this.
Urban helped Aaron Hernandez get back on the field.
Well,
I mean, that's
yeah.
one of 1,000 examples.
And those questions should be asked to Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Will it matter?
No.
It unfortunately,
Yeah.
No, it won't.
Yeah, he just skated.
Because that is the past, and they'll cite the details being very sketchy. But Christian Capel is able to track down a lot of these details. And look, at the time when these things happen, we also do have to have, our legal system in this country is you're presumed innocent until you're found guilty in a court of law.
Right.
Right. And that's what he is going to lean on. And maybe the details that we now know since he was charged formally on Friday. Like, think of how long and how much time is elapsed. This is half a year.
Yeah.
Right? We've had they're on 2 different athletic directors since these. They had Troy Dannon in October. Now they've got Pat Chun from Washington State as their AD. Like, it's been 6 months since these incidents happened, and this doesn't excuse any of it.
No.
But the details that they had then could be far different than obviously what Christian Capel has put out on Montlake, which, if it is found that they knew the severity and the details that are outlined here, then that's a different story.
Yeah. And what's funny is, too, because at the time when they held him out of the Pac-12 championship game, they asked Ryan Grubb about it, and he said that Rodgers was, quote, working through some things, some challenges he's had off the field, end quote.
Challenges, my God. That is a disingenuous quote, I think, at the least there. You would hope that the whole fixer mentality in college football, because there are, allegedly, most of these really good blue chip teams have people behind the scenes that, if their star players get into trouble, they can handle it and keep them in the game. Yeah. I don't know if that's what happened here, but at least from the outside, allegedly, that's what it looks like. Do you think now in 2024, in the state of our world, and, the Me Too movement has happened, do you think that maybe this could be the start of good riddance to college football fixers? And I understand power and money are always going to move the needle, but this is too egregious.
Yeah, no, every team's they're all going to have their own version of the wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Even after Aaron Hernandez came out convicted murder, I mean, we are seeing time after
Hasn't
time
changed
after
since
time.
Then. If it didn't then, why will it now?
No, I mean,
because it keeps happening. That's my question, I guess.
And this is the thing, and we got a text there saying that, Fish brought Rodgers back from the transfer portal in late January. The allegations had been known for months. When you, again, this is like part of your process when you go through taking over a program. And again, we don't know what the nitty gritty of the details.
Right.
At that time when he took over, that there's an allegation, but in an ongoing investigation by authorities, it's not going to be as black and white as it is. Because if it was as clear as some people wanted to paint it, they wouldn't have waited until April to charge the young man.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, is this a long time? Yeah, you'd think you'd be able to move a lot more swiftly, not just for our legal process, but for the victims, the alleged victims in this situation. You want to have a more quick-moving process or swift-moving process. But the fact is that obviously we know a hell of a lot more now than what Kalen DeBoer knew or Jedd Fisch knew, because Jedd Fisch was pretty emphatic when he said, no longer a part of our program, right? And I suspended him immediately, like, cut those ties. And that's why I said former, even though technically he's suspended. Fisch was pretty emphatic. When I found out what happened, or what was alleged, no longer part of our program.
Right.
Now, if it does come to light, and all of these dirty secrets they do, in what Washington knew, when they knew it, how much they knew, that's when this thing gets truly ugly.
Yeah. And the hope is that Fisch didn't wait too long.
Yep.
To try to make his move, because it's just the whole thing's so gross.
It doesn't sound like he did. It is gross. And I if you are interested on Montlake, Christian Capel, he's got a lot of the details on it.
Yes.
But again,
like, don't eat first.
Another day, another sick criminal story.
Yep.
in our purview in our sports world. All right, hour number 3, right around the corner. This is Danny and Dusty, a Rusty and Dusty edition on The Fan.
I'm Chelsea Messenger, helping you beat the books.
It's almost.
It's almost nice.
65.
We could get a couple degrees warmer.
All right. Well, how about
Perhaps 5?
Saturday?
Yeah.
We get to 66.
We're getting there.
Hey, at least this year we're getting that like
Look at Russ being
mediocre.
a weather snob. Or 68 on Saturday.
Hey, even closer.
That like mediocre level of heat that we kind of skipped last year. 60s, 70. That we went right from like 45 to 80 last year.
Turn that furnace on, baby. Let's cook.
So I'm happy that we just got some normal. This is why I love living in the PNW and in Portland. This mild spring we got.
That's right, yeah. Once you get closer to 70, that's when it gets nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
68 work for you?
Close.
Saturday, you're okay.
Yeah.
You'll be good on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I didn't take you for a weather snob. I thought you'd just be okay. But I get that though, because you're a big coasty guy when the weather gets nice. So when you hit 70 here, you're looking at low 60s on the coast, and that is great coast
Yeah,
weather.
because you hit 70 on the coast. That 70 on the coast is far different than 70 in town.
Not wrong. Ooh, that is nice weather over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Apparently somebody's saying we're drunk today and that it's supposed to be 70 today. I got 64 on my weather app as today.
Yeah, I hate all these different sources.
All right, what's the most reliable source of weather for you? Where do you go?
To
do you go?
To my app.
Yeah.
You
the
just
app on my phone.
Just the app on your phone,
Yep.
which you're an Android monster.
I am.
What is your
Mine says 64.
Well, what is the weather app? Is it just weather? Because the
yeah,
Apple weather app is totally unreliable.
Because I think it just takes me to weather.com.
Oh, weather.com. That's a good one.
The Weather Channel.
Okay, I will go number one. Mark Nelson is a fantastic weatherman.
Oh yeah, Fox 12. Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy's wife she's a P1 of Mark Nelson, and it's like any weather event that's happening, she's like, well, Mark says, first name basis. I don't believe she's ever met him, but she is a Mark Nelson P1, and so he's deadly accurate.
Yeah,
there. I go AccuWeather.
Okay,
AccuWeather is a great site. In the iPhone weather app, 17th. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with my wife about, no, weather app says it's raining. I'm like, I'm looking outside right now. And it is not.
It is not.
That little thing, it's raining sunshine.
Yeah. Your little app, that's a damn liar.
Yeah. And I'll get oh my gosh, it's snowing. No, it's not. We have these are the battles.
Yeah.
These are the battles I have here. But you go directly to the weather.com.
Yeah, and this says according to this 71 on Saturday.
Oh,
yeah.
There we go.
Again, this one, this guy says y'all got to listen to Andy in the morning on Good Day Oregon. Andy Carson.
There you go.
Andy Carson.
Good old Andy Carson.
But to me, he's just morning Mark Nelson,
right?
Because he works at the same place, right?
They
you
are
go there.
very similar.
Yeah.
Well, Carson and Nelson
yeah.
sound similar.
Well, there's only one Matt Zafino.
There is Matt Zafino's a great one too.
Yeah,
that's my guy. That's who I go to.
Yeah, it appears that a lot of people are just going. To Fox 12 as their go-to weather. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. All right.
They're on all day the longest. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember old David Apple from my younger days. I think he was Channel 2. He came to visit our school once. We thought that was pretty cool.
Dude, that is pretty cool.
Back at the old Raleigh Hills Elementary.
Yeah, the biggest big shot we got was Bruce from Bruce Chevrolet.
Hey, let's not go sneezing on Bruce.
He brought the Wallaby.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, let's face it, that's who you want to see.
Skippy.
Yeah, Skippy, exactly.
Nobody cared about us down in Salem. We never got any of the local news peeps.
Well, you guys got local politicians to come by, huh? No? You never had...
We toured the Capitol. That was pretty boring.
We did that from up here, too.
Oh.
We did that field trip. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not special down there, bud.
No, we're not. And it was like, oh, hey, there's this gold man at the top of this big building here in Salem. Go see it. That was it. Like, okay.
All right.
Oregon's awesome.
That's a nice little day. Nice little day out.
Yeah, I'm 12 and I'm bored.
Ooh, best weather job in San Diego. That coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line.
That's probably got to be one of the easiest ones.
Well, yeah, because you got June gloom, where you can be like marine layer. It's going to be cloudy today, and it's going to be a cold one. It's going to be 66 degrees out there for you.
Bundle up.
San Diego, and then Here we go into July, where it's 70 and sunny all the way until June gloom again. It is pretty kick-ass gig,
right?
Yeah,
yeah. That's
I feel like if I was
a paycheck.
I feel like if I was a weatherman, I'd like Dallas, because they get some drunk weather in Dallas. And you'll get like softball size hail, and then you get tornadoes ripping through. I mean, that's probably what like weather guys that's their fever dream right there, is to be in a place like where you get it all.
Yeah.
Sweltering heat.
Well, if you want to work
bitterly
hard,
cold.
that's their dream. But
That's right. But San Diego, that's a sweet spot.
Yeah. Is it going to be 100 with 100% humidity tomorrow? Is it
Yep.
going to be 82? I don't know. Maybe a tornado?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I would do, if I was a weatherman in a place where it gets like oppressively hot,
Mm-hmm.
it would be your car check. Like everything would be, how hot is it going to be when you get into your car? Like, don't touch your steering wheel hot.
Yeah.
Leather seats, butt sticking hot.
Yeah.
You get that. And
Yep.
then like, it's like scalding hot to put your car in drive. Like you have all of these where,
Or is it
we
only
all know
melted
that.
crayons in the rear windshield hot?
Yeah. Yes.
Because
which
that
is-
doesn't take much.
That's San Diego.
Right?
That's like 70. If you have, when it hits 70, it's check your back seat time.
Yeah.
Throw it over to
Right?
the weatherman, Dusty Harrow. Well, it's pretty butt sticky hot.
Yeah.
And that's what always cracks me up when you're
Yeah.
at the coast. If it's 66 out there and you're out on the beach, you can always tell the people that are from Oregon and that aren't, because the Oregonians are out there in a t-shirt and shorts, and then the ones that aren't Oregonians, they've got their puffer jacket on.
I tell this to everybody who, like, when they're like, thinking of going to Disneyland, I said, go in February.
Mhm.
Because, like, nobody's down there.
Yeah.
February it may rain. And when you go there and it rains, I kid you not, I went there and we were walking around and it started, like, just lightly drizzling.
Mhm.
It's like 68 still.
Yeah.
Like a
Lightly
tropical
drizzling.
rain.
There are people scattering to every covering in the building or on all the walkways.
Yeah.
Right. And they're just like trying not to get wet. And all you saw walking around that park was Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, Washington State, some
Exactly.
Seahawks gear running around.
All the
Like,
professionals.
it was everybody from the Northwest, and they're just like, "Boop, doo-doo, this is great.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, no lines on Splash Mountain. And that was the thing. Nobody wanted to go on Splash Mountain. It's like, it's raining.
Yeah. You're already wet.
You're not going to be missing anything. Like, oh, I don't want to get wet. Guess what, Pally? You're living that life.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Oh, man.
So go do that. That's a great one. Oh, yeah, here's another good one. Weather, Oahu being Hawaiian.
Oh, yeah.
But then you got to worry about the winds, though. You go from weather, because it's like 80, 90. You got to go ocean temperatures and wind.
Yeah.
That's what you're judging there. That's another great one.
That looks complicated down there. I've watched the weather staying in Hawaii, and it's just like, how do you guys do this? It's an island in the middle of
Yep.
nothing. That's a lot of different, like, what do they call them? Fronts that move through? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold fronts.
Yeah, it
warm
sounds
fronts.
so smart.
Yeah. If I was a weatherman in Mississippi or Alabama or Georgia or Florida, it would all be based on swamp ass.
Exactly. It's going to be hot and sweaty.
You're going to be, how swampy is it today? Is it backup britches? Change of undies? You're going to be okay.
Yeah. It'll be like Adrian Cronauer's
Or-
weather report in Good Morning Vietnam.
The most like severe would be Donald Duck in it.
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
just pants aren't an option today. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to be too hot. Just don't even do it.
We're just letting that undercarriage air out.
Yeah, you're going to need any breeze that you could possibly get. Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
And if you get enough people, it just becomes the norm, right? And then all of a sudden, nobody's going to jail for it. You just got to get enough people on the same page. Like, you just need that slight breeze going, folks, because that southern humidity is a different animal. Another great reason to live in the Pacific Northwest. All we're waiting for is a big earthquake.
Right?
No scary animals.
Yeah.
Mild climate. And, no humidity.
Yeah.
No humidity is when it gets humid,
We have our moments, but
we are so soft with humidity.
Oh yeah.
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 All right. Let's talking weather. Sports, you say?
What? Is that what we're doing here?
Shall we sport a little bit more? What Jim Harbaugh's up to. This man is a bona fide psychopath. Next on The Fan.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with Isaac and Sue.
You just told me to go put my Each player's nameplate now shows their recruit level coming out of high school, not ranked through 5-star level recruit. Why?
I mean, it sounds like a very Jim Harbaugh thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. That's a head scratcher. Like, but why?
Do you want me to try to get into Jim Harbaugh's mind?
That sounds like a scary journey. But yeah.
You're gonna have to go deep here, but I'm very interested.
Okay. I think what Jim Harbaugh is going through,
a lot of milk,
is living that RV life, one. But I look at it in these terms. He can look at who are the two best players for the Chargers right now. Bosa,
Herbert,
and Herbert. Joey Bosa, 5-star recruit out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Lives up to it. Superstar. He's got it.
Yeah.
Always hurt. Justin Herbert, 3-star recruit.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Harbaugh's trying to do here is say it doesn't matter who has loved you, who has propped you up, whatever it is how hard you work once you get here. Because once you get here, all things are equal.
Right.
Right? Where you have Khalil Mack was a 2-star recruit out of high school. You have Donald Parham, who was he had no ranking coming out of high school. He was a starting tight end, right? I think what Harbaugh's going to try and do is be like, I don't care who you are, how much you've been paid. I mean, the real flex would be putting guys' salaries on there. Right. But the one thing in the NFL is you never talk about a man's money.
Exactly.
Everybody is kind of the same. And once you get to the NFL, all things are equal because our best players, we have just as many 5-stars as 3 stars, 2 stars, no star recruits.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing else matters. And I think that's where he's going. I just don't know if that'll resonate or players will really care all that much.
Yeah, it seems like a very college thing to do, which
very much. And this is the thing. He's had success in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's gone college, NFL, college, now back to the NFL.
Yeah.
It is a very college thing to do.
Yeah. And so, but I guess we'll see how it works. How long. Well, the other thing too is Michigan has been his longest stop anywhere, correct?
Correct.
By
substantial amount.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before that, he's a nomad.
He bounces around just based on the fact that he's a really difficult person to work with and be around.
Yeah, I think just after a while he wears on people.
Well, and there's also this aspect of it too is as a coach, Michigan was the only place that he faced adversity, if we're being quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at his stops, San Diego, 7-4, 11-1, 11-1, 3 years. Hey, I was part of those 11 wins in year number 2. Stanford, 4-8, 5-7, 8-5, 12-1. The trajectory was always up. Remember, Michigan was 10-3, 10-3, 8-5, 10-3, 9-4, 2-4. Almost gets fired, has to rework his entire contract.
Yeah,
and then 12-2, 13-1, and then national champion.
Yeah,
like I mean that was the thing. He had to take a pay cut and be like, maybe I'm not as great as I have been everywhere else.
Yeah.
Everything else had been upward trajectory, no matter what, including in San Francisco too.
And in terms of that pay cut that he took too, I'm almost surprised that at no point was he ever just like, you know what, pound sand, I'm out of here. Instead of taking the pay cut.
Almost happened last year with the Minnesota job.
Yeah, because look, and let's face it, in football and coaching and playing and whatnot, you got to have an ego. Everybody's got an ego, and I think
100%.
that Jim is one of the more outsized egos in football.
But it humbled him a little bit at Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say it humbled him. He softened up a little bit.
Okay. A
little bit. But this will be an interesting one. I think what Harbaugh did is this may be if he's adding this to guys' lockers, this may be the paralysis by analysis of looking at his roster, talking to his guys as he's like, oh, so what's your story? What were you coming out of high school? And then he's like living in an RV, removed from his entire family.
Yeah.
Where Greg Roman is like 2 RV spots away from him. And his whole life right now, well, his whole life always just revolves around the team, and he's just getting to know all of these people.
Right.
This is the thing that's sticking out to him because their roster is, I mean, they've got some guys that were nobodies coming out of high school, and now they are not just solid, but star players in the NFL.
Right.
And he's trying to set the tone of all is equal once you get here.
Yeah, we'll see how it works. Because if there's one thing you've learned a lot of times in the NFL too, is a lot of that college stuff doesn't fly.
Nope, but he's been there, and he was a former player in the NFL for a really long time and had a ton of success. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe his message does resonate with players because of the fact that he played, and every player to a man says he cares about him.
Yeah.
Which is probably the furthest thing. That is the furthest trait that he gives off from people. Like Harbaugh, if you were to tell me Jim Harbaugh is a guy who it is all about production. If you don't produce, you're dead to him. I'd be like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah, like he's a machine.
Yeah, but it's completely opposite in his world, only to the extent of how much do you love football. Because if you don't love football, that's where Jim Harbaugh is just like, yeah, I don't know who you are. Yeah. That's not the world I live in.
Yeah.
Like the Greg McElroy story from a few months ago is hilarious. When he ran into McElroy and was like, he's like, so what is right when he was getting done playing? He's like, what are you gonna do next? He's like, well, I'm getting in the media thing. Oh, so you don't love the game?
Yeah.
His life is you play until you can coach, you coach until you die. That man loves him some football.
Yeah.
Do you love anything that much?
I mean, outside of your obvious answers, your family and such, but outside, no.
There's nothing where you're like, I will do this until I die.
Nah.
Harbaugh just misses the fact that, like, you can just still love the game and like cover it like Greg McElroy, but apparently that's a bridge too far for him. I would love to see Harbaugh just going, yeah, a lot of milk. That guy drinks a lot of milk. Put that guy on a game, I will watch that game.
Right, absolutely.
If you did the Manning cast with John and Jim Harbaugh and their dad, Jack, sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am in on that.
Yeah. That'd be a master class in football right there.
Oh, and a whole lot of crazy.
Yes.
They would just, what it would devolve to in the third quarter is them just yelling at each other about something that happened in Pee Wee football in 1978. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely. Or they would disagree on a play call in the game. Yeah, and they're on. You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I would absolutely love it. I would absolutely love it. Well,
breaks into a wrestling match on the floor.
Harbaugh's favorite wrestler. He's got to be understated. Undertaker. I bet Harbaugh's favorite wrestler is The Undertaker. Or it's the Road Warriors just because they wore football pads. But Laurinaitis is an Ohio State guy, so that may, as a true Michigan man, he probably doesn't like that.
Right.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
See, I think now we're getting somewhere.
That's it.
Just a hardworking American man.
Yeah.
Yeah, America.
Yeah. But also, he surprises us. He finds SpongeBob SquarePants an inspiration. So,
actually, I saw a meme.
I don't know how to read him.
I think he's a genius there because I saw a meme of SpongeBob being chased by the Mariners like a fish, basically as like a superimposed S on them, and he's just going through his activities: jellyfishing, going to poop, going to eat, going to his job, and nothing bothers him. Yeah. So no, I take that as some advice to follow as well.
Yeah, he says SpongeBob is his inspiration because of his commitment to his job.
Okay.
Flipping Krabby Patties.
Hey.
I mean, we've all worked with a few Squidwards.
Do what you love what you do.
Hot damn. All right, 503-864-6326. Something that we haven't got to, we have a new hire at the University of Oregon. And this one could pay dividends down the road because he's a sharp tack. That after Schultze with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by PG Long. Your new floors are in stock and ready to install at PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts. Go to pglongllc.com. First on The Fan, the Portland Trail Blazers taking the day off after the loss to the Pelicans last night. Nolans does move into 6th place in the Western Conference with that win over your Blazers. Tonight, the Nuggets and Timberwolves facing off at 7 p.m. on ESPN for sole ownership of first place in the Western Conference. Locally, breaking news this afternoon, former Trailblazer Ben McLemore has been arrested in Clackamas County and charged with rape and other sex crime allegations. The 31-year-old is currently on the roster for a team in Spain. More bad news out of college football. Washington Huskies running back Tylen Rogers arrested and charged with the rape of 2 women in Seattle. Court documents state that he played in 2 playoff games after at least one allegation was known to the university. And elsewhere in baseball, the Seattle Mariners are in Toronto trying to salvage one game out of the 3-game series. It went to extra innings. They were able to hold on after the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. home run to tie it at 1 apiece. Now going into the bottom of the 10th inning, the Mariners lead it 3-1 thanks to a 2-run bomb from catcher Cal Raleigh. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
All right.
Mr. Stanicki.
It was revealed the other day. We haven't gotten to it yet, but the Oregon Ducks have hired Rashad Samples as their running backs and assistant head coach, replacing Carlos Lachlan, who bolted for Ohio State. James Crepea of the Oregonian, he caught this earlier today about Lachlan, who had posted, then deleted, and reposted a tweet inferring that he felt undervalued at Oregon. Okay?
Ooh.
The tweet read, quote, "I prefer to be called Locke. I know Coach Lanning would call me. I thought maybe trying to take a shot at me every now and then was out there when I was at Oregon. They called me Carlos, but I prefer to be called Coach Locke."
What?
Yeah. I thought maybe trying to take a shot at me every now and then was out there at Oregon, called me Carlos, but he prefers Coach Locke. He felt wronged because in a posted then deleted tweet that Coach Lanning called him by his first name.
So if I go by Schulte.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
And you call me Jordan, I'm not going to get mad. God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
which
seems
is why
kinda
he
nitpicky and soft.
deleted it. But look, the real reason why he left Oregon and went to Ohio State, he got a pay raise.
Yeah.
He got a pay raise and he got a little bit more responsibility, which is why most people leave in the world of coaching. And Dan Lanning was sitting there, was like, dude, go get yours,
Right?
If you go get that money.
Carlos.
But in comes Rashad Samples, who this adds to what is already a young staff. He's 29 years old. He joins, Alik Terry, who is a young up-and-coming offensive lineman or offensive line coach who has experience at the collegiate level and in the NFL. And back at Oregon, did a phenomenal job last year. And people rave about Coach Terry. Alik Terry is one of those guys at 29. He gets regarded as, one of the best young teachers of offensive line play. And there was a big question mark with, Alex Mirabal leaving and Mario Cristobal leaving. Would the offensive line still be as productive? Terry, 29, really good coach. They went to the NFL. They plucked him back. You got your offensive coordinator, Will Stein, just 34 years old. This young staff. Dan Lanning is still, was he 37, 38?
Just turned 38.
Just turned 38. He's 38 years old. Now you have that youth movement on this coaching staff continues with the 29-year-old assistant head coach and running backs coach in Rashad Samples. Known as a pit bull recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of where the recruiting people are talking about. Samples was a highly coveted wide receiver out of high school. He's from the state of Texas. And he played at Oklahoma State, SMU, and he's been a running backs coach for the Rams, Arizona State, where they hired him from. Obviously, the intimate knowledge of the Oregon program because Kenny Dillingham being the head coach there, right?
Right.
Why the people in the recruiting world are sitting there and saying this is going to be big for Oregon is because 24/7 Sports rated Samples as the number one recruiter in the Pac-12. His dad is a legendary head coach in the state of Texas at Duncanville High School in Texas, where I don't know if anybody knows about Duncanville, but their basketball team came for the LSI. It's where, Ron, whatever his name is, the kid who went to the G League Ignite played. They got a loaded basketball program, loaded track program. Guess what else is really good? The football team,
right?
Which
in
has
Texas, weird.
2 of the top 11 recruits in the state of Texas are from Duncanville. The class of 2025, the number 1 recruit in the state of Texas is a defensive lineman at Duncanville High School.
Okay.
That's where Samples' dad is the head coach.
Yeah, so they're pretty good.
Yeah, and
They know ball.
Samples' ties to that state, when your dad is a head coach, and quite good one at that.
Yeah.
That really helps with name recognition when you go into the various high schools around the state of Texas. And so that's why the recruiting folks are really high on him, not just because of his dad, but because of what he's been able to do and capitalizing on that at Arizona State, especially. They had the Texas to Tempe is what they called it. He does a really good job recruiting that state.
Yeah.
So all things kind of on the up and up there. Like, I mean, that is, it seems like with the Lachlan deleted post, being taken aside here, you take a guy, he gets paid, and I like what Lanning has said about his staff, whether it was when Dillingham left. I think it was like, look, our goal is to our assistant coaches, they should get promoted and get other jobs and go and do that. And it's a really different way of thinking, the way that he and Dillingham do it, because Kenny Dillingham congratulates guys that go and take other jobs. He's like, dude, that's awesome. Way to go, pal.
Right, exactly. Well, you want to see your guys succeed.
But that is the new age of coach is so different than the Urban Meyers or the Nick Sabans, kind of that red ass culture, right?
Right. Yes.
This is in the new world of college football, whether it's how you deal with the transfer portal, your roster, re-recruiting your roster, unrecruiting your roster, or the way you handle your staffs, that's going to be the next evolution. Is as a head coach, your job is to get coaches other jobs.
Yeah.
And Saban was awesome at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Nick Saban coach rehabilitation clinic, it was huge, but also his development of young coaches who went on to have success elsewhere, and Lanning is one of them. Kirby Smart gets more credit for that, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But that is the way that you should operate as a head coach. It's interesting to see how some of them, the old heads as opposed to some of the new guys, operate in that world.
Well, and in comparing the two, also, I saw a quote on Twitter earlier, and I don't remember if it was from Samples or if it was from Lachlan. Asked him about basically what the weakest position group rooms across football are. And he said it was the running backs, because typically all they ever do is just hire the best recruiter.
Yeah, true. I mean, a good running backs coach, Gary Campbell was a phenomenal running backs coach.
Mm-hmm.
He squeezed a lot of talent out of guys. Gary Campbell was the best recruiter. He and Nick Aliotta were the two best recruiters on those staffs at Oregon for years and years and years.
Well, I think his point was,
it's 100% right on that.
Yeah, they've made the hire of that coach more about just the recruiting than the actual coaching.
Yeah, but you also get some coaching in both Lachlan and in Samples with the experiences that they've had in previous stops.
And that's not to say that those are mutually exclusive qualities.
No. No. Wait, it's Dan Lanning's birthday today, Schultze?
Get right the hell out of town.
Yes. Yeah, on Twitter I saw something, I think from Oregon, hey, happy birthday to Dan Lanning turning 38.
How about that? Happy birthday, Dan Lanning.
Happy birthday, Coach Lanning.
Who knew? Obviously, that texter on the Vancouver Ford text line and Schultze on Twitter. You said just turned 38. I didn't know that it was just now turned 38.
Right. Oh, I'm not trying to be like, Dwight Schrute, it's Michael Scott's birth moment. That is not where I'm going here. Everybody, this is the moment Dan Lanning came out of the vaginal canal. No!
Schultze's like, no. Now he's 38.
I am obsessed with my Ducks, but not that obsessed.
No. Yes, now.
And right now,
he's 38.
I can call Dan Lanning's mom and ask. I'm sure she'd answer.
No, I don't think you want to do that. I don't think that would be good for you.
I don't think they'll let me into Autzen ever again.
Wait, that hasn't already happened?
Hey, shut up. I was there with you last year, brother. Maybe, allegedly.
All right. 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Boy, I just can't get enough of these shots of Augusta. Next on The Fan.
It's The Fan on demand.
They're kind of fun to play with, aren't they?
texter who knew the birth date of Dan Lanning has followed up. I know because my 38th birthday is next week, so I feel very unaccomplished.
Right?
That's always the worst part about adulting.
Yeah.
Is comparing yourself at your age to other,
Well, no, when like younger people are far more accomplished and have their S together way more than you, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like every 20-year-old that's an athlete now has hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. I feel so poor and just not prepared for this world in my mid-30s.
Oh, don't compare yourself to those people. You're poor to a lot of folks.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, Schultze.
Oh, thanks for
we're all in that boat. Don't compare it just to the 20-somethings.
I'm not
Look at
alone.
the bigger picture of how many more people are rich.
Yeah, but when I've already been 20, 21, and they're just sitting there in a Lambo at 20, I'm like, God, you suck.
Well, you know what? That's your fault. You should have been touched by the hand of God and been a superior athlete.
I'm sorry that I was not the sperm of Jackson or of Matt Holliday like Jackson Holliday.
That guy, he just got called up to the bigs, and I love those videos where it shows like the AAA manager being like, all right, so you got to go through this. He sat down Jackson Holliday and was like, give him a talk like, hey, your folks in town? No, my brother's got a tournament, all that stuff. He's got a season underway. Oh, okay. I'm sure he's helped you a lot. Yeah. And then he gives them like, well, you're going to have to call him and just thank him for everything that he's done for you. He's like, oh, yeah. And then the other thing you have to tell him, you're going to the big leagues. Those videos are always great. I watched that one last night, and Jackson Holliday, he has such a baby face. Like, he's only like 19 or 20 years old. He has a little baby face, but then he's like jacked out of his gourd. He looks like that little Hulk kid. Remember the Hulk baby, Hercules baby?
Yeah, little baby Hercules.
He looks like him.
Yeah.
Except for instead of lifting weights, he's just ripping dingers.
Now, Jackson looks like a teenager
incredible. Still. Yeah, and he is going to be, if that Orioles team as a whole, their minor league team has just been embarrassing. The Norfolk Tides, they've been embarrassing AAA teams because it's like they didn't bring anybody up, and so they have just like a bunch of guys who should be in the big leagues that are just destroying. They beat somebody 26-0.
I think Hurstad had 10 RBIs just himself that night.
Good Lord.
Man.
It's like we're going to push you up to the big leagues because minor league baseball's starting to complain a little bit. All right.
I think I figured out who it is he looks like. It's one of the kids from Kicking and Screaming from Will Ferrell's team.
Okay.
Yeah, and I Googled it. The kid, the actor's name, Stephen Anthony Lawrence.
Stephen Anthony Lawrence. All right, I'll take a gander at that.
All his grown-up pictures, he has a beard, so he doesn't really look like him, but
yeah, that's usually what happened.
Yeah.
People grow up. Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I got you there. Yeah. Wait, he looks different. He looks exactly the same, just with like a fake beard.
Yeah.
And like he's balding up top.
Yeah.
Boy, that's tough for that kid. He was a good actor though.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. All right. We're at that point, folks. 4-star wide receiver Cooper Perry has committed to Oregon. He's the number 1 recruit out of the state of Arizona. That just happened. We are at the point where dominant athletes are now named Cooper.
Right.
Like Cooper Manning was like the only Cooper that we'd heard of. Now we have like Cooper Flagg, number 1 recruit. Like we got to get used to Coopers being
Cooper
around
Kupp?
here. Cooper Kupp. Coopers are here to stay.
Yeah, Coopers and Jacksons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With an X.
Yes.
Or CK.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different ways you can spell it.
I feel like, though, there's a rule that if you're Jackson with an X, you have to have like a faux hawk.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Which is good luck. Good luck.
Well, sure.
And play baseball. Jackson with an X is a baseball name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like lacrosse.
Hey, thanks for partying, man.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Excellent.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow from noon till 3. Up next, you got 4 hours of power. Their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Isaac and Souk. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Hey, it's Souk. And guys, for those of you with a full head of